I think my favorite thing about camp is making new friends and talking to new people who saw like I did, because there's nobody in my town that was visually impaired.
Like back at my school, I'm the only blind kid in my school. I'm the only kid that needs the extra help and stuff.
I'm also not afraid to tell people that I only have one eye, which was formed by my mom having a bunch of CAT scans and x-rays before she knew I was in her belly, which caused me to having a deformed eye.
Sometimes I do need help. My eye seeing is back and forth, trying to read them, and sometimes I get tired. My eye seeing, I get tired. But it doesn't mean I cannot walk, I cannot do anything.
Camp Abilities is an overnight educational sports camp for children with visual impairments, blindness, and deafblindness. And the reason why we need a Camp Abilities is because so many kids are not provided an opportunity to do sports and physical activity and recreation in their hometowns and in their schools.
Yeah, I was a big sports fan, and I got to do these sort of things because of Camp Abilities. I never thought in my wildest dreams that blind people and sports, went together before Camp Abilities.
Being here, you have your friends, you have people that you don't know and people that you do know, and it helps you to really open up. Here, everybody is like you, and here everybody has that shell, and it's up to you to open up from that shell and to really communicate and to really give in to everything.
They're accustomed to be told that they can do this and they cannot do that, and here they can do anything they want. And we try to make activities, all the activities that everybody can participate.
I say I can because you can either modify it or I can figure out how to do it on my own, so I don't give up.
I feel proud and happy.
Can't is not a word. You can do something.
For some, they feel sorry. And then one of the things I want to do is tell people that there's nothing to feel sorry about. And instead, we're here to try to show them everything that they can do and actually show you what they can do. And that there is no differences. The only difference in their world is that they cannot see. That's it. But all their other senses are fine-tuned. And the bottom line is at the end of the day, we're all individuals.
I know there's some people that just they just want to put so many barriers in the way, they just want you to give up, but I can't imagine, I see the faces and I see the parents and the families and what a difference it makes. Why would you not continue to make a difference and to try hard and to, people say, oh, you're a distinguished professor, why, you don't have to do anything. But how could I sit around and do nothing when I know that kids are going to lose if I don't?
It's definitely life-altering.
Exhilarating. If I could describe camp in one word, it would be unforgettable.
Camp Abilities is awesome.
The purpose of camp is to give those kids experience in sports and physical activity and different recreation activities and understand how to make them accessible for themselves.
Just because you're blind or just because you're deaf doesn't mean that you cannot do anything. They can do exercise, they can swim, they can do judo, they can they can fight from themselves.
And we also teach the kids how to advocate when they are in a situation where they know that they can access a sport, how to access that and how to teach the teachers, how to teach them and make them included. And so camp is for the kids with visual impairments, and it's also to train the teachers about how to teach kids with visual impairments.
I was actually inches away from kind of switching my major when I found Doc, or actually kind of when Doc found me instead. And she kind of cornered me and told me that I had this ability that I didn't know that I had. I almost thought that I wasn't kind of cut out to be a PE teacher. And she said, you know, we want you here at camp. And it was my first year and it was another athlete's first year. And, you know, you come here as a performance coach, you get them to achieve something, and I brought them out of the show and I felt good. And she just has that ability to bring the best out of myself, for me to bring the best out of the athletes.
The joy that I've had from seeing all of the kids be able to do something that they've never thought was possible, improve something, watch them socialize, to me there's no greater joy. And so it takes every ounce of energy I got, and I honestly don't really sleep, but it's what I need to recharge me for every single year, for my teaching, for everything that I do. I'm hooked. I'm hooked on camp, and the people that have been hooked kind of know it's the kids. It's all about the kids.
When I lost my eyesight in 1980, I had no role models, and there were, you know, I just didn't know what to do. And so, you know, it's always one of those things that, wow, it's just fantastic that there's always camp for able-bodied kids, and to have camp ability to have a camp for visual impairment and blind children and young adults. It's a place that we can all come together and share our different ideas and share our passion for sports.
I noticed that the Coach Beth that was here was always so full of energy and it was contagious, and so I just kind of jumped on it too. And I brought this kid out of the show who was, for lack of a better term, a couch potato, I guess you could say. And he went from being very quiet and inside of the show to like singing this little like throwback 70s song, like What's Love Got to Do With It? And he brought like this whole love emotion to it, and he is probably the reason that I became more out of my shell and Doc saw my ability, and thank goodness for him, I'm here now, 4 years later, and I'm still going to be here for 40 years from now, hopefully.
It's pretty amazing that you have all these people that come from all over to spend time and help out all the kids and all the campers.
Camp Abilities actually makes me feel very included because I'm not the only blind person here. I feel like we're all just one family, and it makes me feel really happy and excited.
I've been at Camp Abilities for 10 years now. This is my 10th year, so it's a decade. I think Camp Abilities really helped me because I realized when going to Camp Abilities that I can do all these different sports, and even if they do have to be modified a little bit, I still can do them.
With anticipation and expectation and bars soaring higher and higher throughout the week, that you just feel. You feel it in the air, and it's contagious. The energy, the positivity, the supportiveness, the encouragement, it's all contagious.
I grew up doing sports, and I felt like it was a huge part of my life. And when I look at a lot of the kids with visual impairments that are growing up in society today, and I think about there's an athlete in that body, they deserve the same rights that we have, that kids who are sighted and hearing have. And they really don't have the same kind of quality of life that their peers have. And I think that everybody deserves to be involved in sports and physical activity, because we can learn a lot from the contribution of people who are blind and visually impaired.
A lot of things were people just not knowing. You definitely have to advocate for yourself, but once you do get in there and blaze the path, you know, I had great success, coaches that were supportive and everything. I was really blessed by that fact.
They just give to you so freely, you know, and you just think about your own life and how you always have all this self-doubt and just doubt about decisions you make and what road you're going to take and what life's going to bring to you. And then these athletes come in and they just open the world up to you.
What I love about Camp Abilities is that it gives you a variety of things to try. Remember, here at Camp Abilities, the one thing that I tell everybody is that just find out one thing you have a talent at. God gave you a talent. Just find out one thing and not only be good at it, but be great at it. And at Camp Abilities, it gives you that opportunity.
having the right environment is extremely important, and that is why Camp Abilities is such a wonderful culture, a wonderful forum, a wonderful place for young people to really have some seeds planted so they can learn to nurture their belief in themselves when they're not here at camp. So the idea is to learn something at camp of all different sports, learn about life attitude, and carry it forward for the rest of their lives.
Camp Abilities makes me feel, I think, the same way as it makes a lot of kids feel. It makes me feel validated and empowered, and it makes me feel like I can be my best self at camp.
You guys are amazing. You guys can do it. You guys should be confident about yourself because you've done a lot of things that people have been scared to try, to take that first step. And you guys have taken that first step. You've taken 100 steps past that first step, and you guys need to be proud about that. It's been an amazing week, and you guys have honestly changed me. Currently I'm on my 6th major in college, and after this experience, I'm probably gonna find a 7th major so I can continue to do things like this. And I just want to thank you guys, because I'm not gonna be able to drive back to Utica this weekend and not be a different kind of brother, a different kind of son, a different kind of father someday, a different kind of husband. And I want to say that because you guys are amazing.
When I was teaching, the 5 years that I was teaching at the Perkins School for the Blind in the deaf-blind program. And I got great experience teaching and coaching at that school. And after my doctoral program, when I got my first job at Brockport, and I saw the students that were coming to our practicum programs, and I realized that my students were never going to teach children with visual impairments unless I did something about it. And so I thought about starting a camp or a program for children with visual impairments, and I worked with our grants office and came up with the concept of a sports camp for children with visual impairments, and now Camp Abilities was born, and that was 1996, and now 20 years later, we've expanded, and it's really grown, and our students leave Brockport now knowing how to teach children with visual impairments when they have the opportunity to do that.
Camp Abilities originally started at State University of New York, College of Brockport, in 1996. And some people from Alaska were there. They came to the Brockport camp and said, wow, this is a great concept. We don't have anything for people with visual impairment in terms of sports. Would you come to Alaska and start camp there?
When we started Camp Abilities, I was very proud that kids were coming from Maryland and Arizona and Alaska and Texas and Connecticut. But then when I started putting our own children from Camp Abilities Brockport, even kids that lived 5 miles away on the waiting list, because we were hosting kids from other states, I said, there's something wrong with this picture. And so we started to advocate for people to start their own Camp Abilities, and our first extension of Camp Abilities was in Alaska. And I had to pinch myself when we were there because it was so cool that the kids in Alaska were getting sporting opportunities because of Camp Abilities Brockport.
And that became the beginning of the expansion of Camp Abilities.
So after we started the Camp Abilities in Alaska, the kids in Alaska didn't have to come to New York anymore. Started camp in Long Island and Connecticut and Florida. And before long, we had camps in other countries as well. For example, Guatemala and Costa Rica and Finland.
We started when we were on our doctorate studies, and we went to Camp Abilities Brockport, invited by Dr. Loudon Lieberman. We went there for 2 years in a row, and we were so excited to be there, and we loved the concept, so we decided that we needed to do it here in Puerto Rico.
So we said, okay, we'll use the same concept. I liked the Camp Abilities ID, the vision. I said, let's use a similar philosophy, bring it over here and try to then develop it further.
After being involved with Camp Abilities for so many years, it to me has always been Lauren's vision that all of us graduate students or people that have been involved in camp or have the passion for camp should start one wherever they're at.
Which of course is not a business, it's not a franchise. It's a group of dedicated and committed colleagues who decided that children with blindness and visual impairments did not have the opportunities that many other children have, and not as many opportunities as some other disability groups had.
I think to have a camp like Campabilities is really important because it can help people meet other people that may have the same disability and make friends with people that may have worse disability or better. And I think it's important also because it can help people learn how to get around correctly using their cane if they need it. And it could teach them some things they can use to get through life easier.
Campabilities Brockport itself is 1 week. And it's not often that you have over 50 children with visual impairments in one place. So it's a perfect place to do research. And one reason I'm adamant about doing research is because we can only take 50 kids with visual impairments. So there are so many children, even as many camps as we have, that do not get to go to a Campabilities and get to do sports for the summer. So how can we help all those children out there that don't have the opportunity to come to a camp? And so we've used Campabilities as a forum to collect information on physical education. We look at that research and say, what product or what curriculum can we develop from this to help children with visual impairments? So we work very closely with the American Printing House for the Blind on developing products to help children be more active. For example, we did research on guide running techniques, which guide running techniques help children with visual impairments the best. And we developed a Walk Run for Fitness kit that helps children, their teachers, and their parents, helping children learn how to walk and run as independently as possible.
I just finished my degree to become a teacher of the visually impaired at Florida State University, and I'm currently finishing up my master's degree to get my orientation and mobility specialist degree. This time last year, I was going through a very hard time in my field. I wasn't sure if this is where I belonged. And then I came to this camp right here, and I realized that this is exactly what I want to do. And thanks to Campabilities, I know this is the career path I want to do.
Seeing the accomplishments of all the kids and learning about all the potential that they have really taught me a lot. I mean, even though I taught at the School for the Blind for so long, and I had so many kids and coached so many kids, every single year I learned more and more from the kids and from their parents and from the role models and the Paralympians that we bring in as well.
Well, once you come to one, you kind of can't stop. I mean, why not? I mean, it's my field. I get to work one-on-one with campers. I've learned more here than I have, kind of in school, because we learn textbooks, we read a lot, but we don't get to do a lot of hands-on, and here it's completely hands-on, and it's bringing in all the knowledge I've learned from school, everything I've seen in videos, and I get to actually learn for myself.
In the last couple of years since I've been active, I've noticed that there has been no deterioration when my tests come around, which is becoming more of a trend, and that, I'm kind of throwing it in, the more active you are, the healthier your eyes are. So that's a good thing.
We do an assessment checklist with all our activities and how the kids are doing every single activity, if they need physical assistance or brailing, or if they can do it just by verbal instructions. That's why we do the assessment checklist, so they can show everyone what they can do.
So at Campabilities, we assess most of the sports that they do during the day so that they can see, I ran a mile in 10 minutes and 50 seconds, but I know that I can run that mile a lot faster than that. So using our assessment tools, we not only look at their skill level, but we also look at the quantity or the time or distance. So if I can run to the beep baseball base in 9 seconds, let me see if I can do it in 8 or 7 seconds. Without assessment, they won't know that they can improve on their skills. And so we're teaching them not only the modifications that they make, but also to show them that they can improve in all levels, qualitative and quantitative.
I think that they can bring back to their family and their schools, you know what, I can do these things, you just got to give me the opportunity. Fortunately, we are able to send home assessments with these kids to show parents, to show PE teachers. This is what I did. I can do this. You just might have to set something up for me or modify or adapt an activity. And I have seen in my district personally these assessment findings coming out in IEP meetings saying this kid can do this. We've got to make this available to them at school. They deserve it too.
Well, to me, you know, because I wasn't sure about my career and all that, and I was ready to find another career path, and I came here and it, you know, solidified that this is what I want to do with my life. So it's definitely life-changing.
My name's Naima, and when I was running the track, I ran 6.5 laps.
Wow! That is great!
Goalball is a sport specifically for people with visual impairments, and it evolved after World War II to help the rehabilitation of soldiers who came back visually impaired from the war, from World War II. And so goalball started with wounded veterans and spread across the world for anywhere from young children to adults with visual impairments, and now is a Paralympic sport played by every country.
It's really rewarding when they realize, man, I love this sport, I could do this on a regular basis, and then helping them discover that their abilities far exceed what they expected themselves to be limited to.
I had a camper who was in middle school, and he was told that he couldn't be on his wrestling team. Now mind you, he was totally blind. And when he came to Camp Abilities, he met another camper who was his age. And so Cody was on his wrestling team, and Chris wanted to be on the wrestling team, but Chris was told, no, you can't be on the wrestling team. So at Camp Abilities, Cody taught Chris some wrestling moves. Chris did wrestling moves for his talent show act. Chris went back to his middle school and told his coach, it doesn't matter that I'm blind. My friend Cody's blind and he's on his wrestling team. I deserve to be on my wrestling team. And the coach didn't really have any reason to say no after that. Chris knew some wrestling moves. He knew he had the right to be on the team, and Chris joined his wrestling team. He quickly lost weight, got into shape, made friends, and he was a wrestler from then on.
They get to be informed about resources that are available outside of camp. So if they really enjoyed, for example, goalball, they could find out that there is a team in the North Shore, or if they like to be baseball, we could put them in touch with people who know of teams in the area. And in that sense, it's fantastic that they get this opportunity to get involved in sport.
Maybe some of the skills need to be broken down. Like sometimes you think like, here's a baseball bat, here's how you swing it. But then you remember that someone's never ever seen someone swing a bat, or someone who's never seen someone run. You almost have to like hand over hand it and say, feel my arms swing, or here's how your feet are supposed to move.
For example, when our kids are playing basketball, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll take their cane and we'll tap the rim of the basketball hoop. We might say their name before we'll say their name before we bounce pass it to the child. And that's like for basketball skills. And often for soccer, we will use a bell soccer ball. We'll put a beeper behind the goal. We'll have kids with brighter pennies or with sounds on their shirts as their peers on their team. And so we add auditory and visuals to the games and activities. For example, for running around the track, we might put a radio where they started so that they know when they got back to the beginning of the track. And so those kind of modifications are pretty simple. We teach them different guide running techniques, whether it's a sighted guide that they're holding onto, or whether it's a guide wire, or whether they're running to a sound. So we teach them all those different kinds of ways to modify typical activities.
The theme of Camp Abilities, or the mantra, is believe you can achieve, and that doesn't come without independence. And so the really neat thing, as Ann was mentioning, to teach coaches not to overprotect and protect and to have expectations of the athletes.
To put the blindfold on and to try some of these things yourself, and I just found myself to be completely lost in an open field. So just to understand the kind of things that these kids have to adapt to is really great to realize.
This is what the whole week is about, improvement. But, as the week goes on, you see them, come out of that shell. And once they're out of that shell, there's no stopping them.
So why do we need camp abilities? In most physical education professional preparation programs, most professors have never really taught kids with visual impairments in the past. And the problem has been in the past is that the kids are the ones who are losing out. They would go to physical education and the vision teacher would look at the PE teacher and they'd both look to each other for information and it wasn't there. And so the structure of our field was missing that piece.
I am from Colombia. I live in the city, in the capital of Colombia, in Bogota. I am here because I want to teach the Dr. Laura Lieberman about the blind soccer, and of course I want to implement it in all the United States and in all the around the world, the capabilities. I want to implement that sport because it's the kind of sport around the world. The person who created the blind soccer is my father. My father started the first game in Colombia to the blind people can play. He found a plastic ball and he put some little balls inside the plastic ball, and when the plastic ball starts to move, the blind people can listen. The best thing that I saw is when blind kids start to play any sport, because my father was a blind kid, and I guess this is a connection for the capabilities, and when I saw any blind kid to start to play any sport is amazing.
My favorite part is when I have the talent show, archery, bowling, swimming, beat baseball, and tandem biking. Well, mostly everything.
When I'm describing something to a camper, you have to realize that when you're watching, say, a beat baseball game, they don't know who's up to bat, they don't know who's out on the field, they don't know who's pitching, they don't know anything that's going on. So you're there next to them and you want to explain everything that you're seeing to them, because when you see someone hit a line drive and you get excited, you want them to be excited too. So that's why you want to explain everything to them, so then when they hear that a line drive just happened and that the kid is running the bases, they can clap and they can cheer and they can know why that they're clapping and cheering.
Jason has trouble hearing the bass, remember? So he's getting some help with that. It's a big hit, but he's having trouble hearing the bass. He's getting close, he's almost there. Hey! All right, and he tackled it, guys. He went right over it.
In the past, children with visual impairments who wanted to be on their sports teams were sometimes permitted to try out, but oftentimes the coach was reluctant to allow them to try out on their sports teams.
Throughout my life, there's plenty of times that, I've seen that people don't ask you, or you can kind of see they discredit you a little bit. But then if they let your foot in the door and then they get a chance to know you, it may take me longer to learn how to do a job, or it may take a blind person a little bit more time to learn how to do a certain job. But I think if you give them opportunity and they're driven to do it, they might be one of your best employees. They might be one of your best workers. And when they do it, it really inspires everybody around to say, wow, I didn't think they could do it, and now they've exceeded my expectations.
So now more than ever, because of our push for more capabilities, getting more materials and curriculum out there, doing more trainings, and helping children advocate for themselves, more and more children with visual impairments are on their after-school diving teams, cross-country teams, swim teams, and more, because of capabilities and because of our push to train teachers, parents, and coaches about the abilities of children with visual impairments with appropriate modifications.
Some blind people that aren't active, they would just sit there and have everybody else do everything for them, or they wouldn't go out and play on the playground at their elementary school. and then the kids that can see, they'd say, oh, you can't do that. So I'd always, prove it to them and say, yes, we can.
I love trying new things. Like the stand-up paddleboarding was so much fun. And I love meeting new people and getting some exercise.
Sometimes out in the rest of the world, people aren't always encouraging you to be your true self and to be who you truly are. And I think coming back to camp each year just reinforces that there are people that love me and care about me, and that people who look up to me, and there are people who I look up to that encourage me to be my best self and to be who I truly want to be. And that feeling can last all year from just 1 week or 1 weekend at camp.
Whatever it is that we come back for, the root of it is love. Whether we love what we do, we love what we see, we love the kids, we love the program, we love Lauren, whatever it is, I mean, that's what it is. You don't do what we do if love isn't at the root of it.
Ever since like the first 2 days, I had a group of people to my left, a group of people to my right, all of the campers, everyone just intermingles and meets new people left and right, and it's just so, everyone has a smile on their face.
For my son, he'd come and he was so much happier. He got to play with kids that were like him. No one's judging you. Everyone's the same.
Yeah.
And it's rare.
Lauren has always been, and her mantra is inclusion. Because these children come to this camp for a week and they find out what they can do. Lauren says, believe and you can achieve. A loss of sight, never a loss of vision. And she's just been an empathetic person that's just part of who she is.
Campabilities actually makes me feel very included because I'm not the only blind person here. I feel like we're all just one family, and it makes me feel really happy and excited.
Campabilities is family to so many of us because most of us that volunteer for Campabilities don't get a lot of money. We don't get a lot of recognition. We do Campabilities because we want to help children with visual impairments, and we want to change the perception that people have about children with visual impairments. And so when I meet somebody, maybe they've done the Nebraska Campabilities, or they've done the Iowa Campabilities, or maybe the Long Island Campabilities. Even if I never met them, I know who they are and what they're made of and what they're all about.
I describe it as a pyramid where you have the leaders, you have the camp directors, you have the coaches who are here specifically to help you, and then you have your peers who, like you, are learning, but who are also here to help you.
Well, the first thing that made me feel more comfortable were the coaches. And basically also all the other campers, who stood up and said, here, I would help you.
You'll hear other people say it's a camp family, and it truly is a camp family, and once you get sucked in, you're stuck. You're just stuck.
Why do the seagulls live in the sea? Why? Because if they live in the bay, they're called bagels, and that tastes delicious.
The camper that I first learned to guide, her name was Leah, and we're about the same age. Every day, Leah and I would head out, and I have some very specific memories of the times we were falling, being over those train tracks at Campabilities, New York, and but we just kept going. And I remember Leah's conditions starting to get worse, but I remember it the way a 7- and 8-year-old remembers it. We just started falling more. And then one year she didn't come to camp anymore. And I remember distinctly the day that I found out she passed away, because I was sitting in my mom's house. I was still really young and just not knowing what to say, because camp is family. When you're at camp, the people that you meet are your family. Even if you see them 1 week a year, even if you see them 4 days a year, it doesn't matter how long you're apart or how little you're together, it's your family. So hearing that she had passed away was like hearing that a member of my family had passed away.
I have a song called The Power of the Dream, and actually one of the lines in the song is no big deal, I'm blind. And it really isn't a big deal if, as I mentioned, you have the right coaches, mentors.
Say, no big deal, I'm blind. Celebrates life. I'm amused by the smile and the courage of a child. Another Saturday night, and I ain't got no life. I got some money 'cause I just got paid.
The idea is to learn something at camp of all different sports, learn about life attitude, and carry it forward for the rest of their lives.
There was one little girl, I was on a tandem, and the dismount can be tricky. I've fallen off the dismount before. And the cues weren't giving, and they stopped, and of course they crashed a little bit, and then a little bit of a road rash, and she was like, ow, and I'm like, oh gosh, I've been there, that doesn't feel good, and she's running around trying to get her Band-Aid and everything, and she's just sitting there like, oh my gosh, you know, this is painful, and so then she popped that helmet right back on, and she's like, all right, let's go, you know, and I just looked at her, and I'm like, that's that, you know, attitude that it takes to, you know, be active and put out there, and it just made me smile.
I know from experience, my daughter, when she comes home, she just, you can see, she could be very stressed before she leaves for camp. She comes home and she's just relaxed, and she's just wanting to go do a lot more things. Like she'll want to go walking, she'll want to go running, she'll want to go on bike rides. So, I mean, she's much more active after camp. It's kind of like kickstarts her for the summer.
It's definitely life-altering. Just to see the athletes come in and at the beginning of the week they might not have confidence or whatever, and then at the end of the week they're just jumping into things. And it's just such a great feeling to see that they've been changed, that now they are gonna go out and pursue things they dreamed of doing before and maybe didn't think they could do. And now they've got that confidence, and they're gonna go out and they're gonna do it.
By the end of camp, the day they leave, they're all walking around with their little peacock feathers up going, I can do that. That's really neat to see when their parents show up and they're able to show their parents on Saturday all the things that they can do. That's my favorite part.
When I started Camp Abilities Brockport, I didn't have any idea about the tenure process. I didn't really understand how higher education worked. I just knew that I knew that my job was to be on earth to help kids with visual impairments. And how was I going to do that? And Camp Abilities was one step closer to providing some support and help for kids with visual impairments. And as the years grew and our journey began, I literally never imagined that it would get this big and this much support and this much recognition. And it's really exciting, the journey that we're on. I mean, there are a lot of barriers, and there's some days when I get very frustrated because you think something's working and it doesn't work. But it's truly worth the journey when I see people like Martha Ruther, who was a camper and an athlete at camp, and now she's going to be in the Paralympics representing the United States in swimming. So, the journey and where we're going, I mean, I never know what doors are going to be open because of camp, but I do know that it's well worth the frustration and the time spent, because so many people are benefiting from Camp Abilities.
And it's a good feeling to know that people are going to follow in our footsteps. Me and the other Paralympic elite athletes that are here, we want people to come and follow in our footsteps and see a passion for our sports. And it's just greatest feeling to see that happening here.
Beat baseball at the hitting. I hit the ball off the tee 7 times in a row. Here you go.
That is good. That's called consistency.
I went to schools where the PE teacher was the let's sit on the bench and blow the whistle and climb the rope and make fun of what you can't do type of person. And while I've always like ran track and been that kind of athletic, I didn't like the whole aspect of either you're going to be a good athlete and you're going to be a popular kid, or you're going to be that nobody and not be athletic. And I just love how it brings people from all different parts of the same area together that never knew existed. I mean, my PE teacher from the last one that I had was really good because he could kind of just make a connection with every student, and he connected these students and then he removed himself. So for the rest of their lives, they're linked together and they found something that they're good at, and they found someone that they can put their trust in and their confidence in. And it was just like magic how he did it. And I never realized what he did until I got to here.
Well, it's awesome because you're bringing specialists and you're bringing people that understand how to work with a visual impaired and blind child. And for example, in goalball, you're bringing a specialist to teach them the fundamentals. Track and field, bring specialists and how to throw the discus and shot put. So it's wonderful to tactile and break down each event and each, so that the child would understand, I understand, and make that connection that they can try anything, whether it's in gymnastics, goalball, archery, just canoeing.
And not only that, but being able to be with kids that have visual impairments like her, and to see that she's not the only one, because she goes to, you know, a typical public school and she is the only blind kid in the school. So being with kids that have the same type of disorders and vision impairments and having something in common with somebody is really a big boost for your self-confidence.
From the beginning of the camp to the end of the camp, when you look at the transition and the growth and the how abilities are discovered and how possibilities, the young people seeing the possibilities that are in their lives, and when they start nurturing that seed of belief where they say, I am an athlete, I am an independent person. And they not only say it, but they learn to feel it and come to know it.
They're our kids for the week.
Yes.
And we chase them down, we make sure that they get their meds, we, you know, check on them. The ones that get homesick, we try to like give them encouragement to stay. I mean, they're all very special. I mean, hugs and kisses, and you know, they're just like having just one big, huge, happy family all week long.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And every time I hear somebody is going into the field to do what I do, I tell them they need to go to camp every single time. Find ways to get professional education for it, find ways for it to count towards your degree, or just do it because you love what you do and you're doing this because you want to. This is where you'll learn. This is what happens. And it's in the in-between. It's not in the activities. It's in the going to bed. It's in the going through the cafeteria line. It's in all of the in-between spaces. That's where what we do as vision professionals lives. And you can't separate that out from this camp. And Lauren knows that. And she hears that. So even though she's come for many years from the point of view of PE, and even though she brings in all her students and there's this great focus on sport, the heart of what's happening here is independence.
So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that made this camp the best time of this year for me.
I think they realize that just because they have a visual impairment doesn't mean they can't go out and achieve whatever dream they have. I think so many of our kids, and sometimes families, just think, okay, well, my child's visually impaired, or I'm visually impaired, and this is how it is. You're a kid, you're a typical kid, you're just like every other kid, you just see differently. We all have something, you know, that we're not good at or we don't know how to do, but we can learn. We just have to be given the opportunity.
The compassion that you can take away from this camp, and knowing that we're here just to show the world that anything's possible, no matter disability, no matter race, no matter anything, that we're here to show the kids and anyone looking in that anything that you want to set your mind to, you can do. So it's just fantastic.
Everybody who does camp knows that it's just infectious. It's just somewhere that you really want to come
It's the most fun you can have for, a week that I think, vacation doesn't even come close to it. It's hard work, it's exhausting, but it's so worth it. It's just great fun.
Definitely life-changing. I was such a different kid than I am now, and everybody's so different. It changed my life. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it saved it.
Their parents are proud of them, they're proud of themselves, we're proud of them, and I think all over again, I really picked the right thing to do with my life.
We want to leave you with the thought that children with visual impairments can be athletes. They can do sports. They can be physically active. They can be part of the community. And it takes action. And so what are you going to do to make sure that children with visual impairments have the opportunity to do sports and physical activity in your community? How are you going to raise awareness? Please help us continue our dreams and goals for children with visual impairments throughout the world and be part of the wonderful Campabilities family that you've just seen today. So anybody who's very interested and excited about Campabilities from this video, please go to our website at www.campabilities.org. On that website, you can find a list of other camps. You can find Campabilities Brockport. You can sign up to volunteer for camps. You can donate money, and you can see how you can get involved in this awesome organization that helps children with visual impairments experience sports in so many different ways. For the future of Campabilities, my goal is to have Campabilities within 6 hours or half a day's drive of every child with a visual impairment, so they have that opportunity to meet other children like themselves, to experience sports, and to be advocates for themselves, and so that their parents aren't so frustrated with lack of opportunities. All of your money goes to running Campabilities and also supporting the leadership or the graduate students that help run Campabilities. So your donation helps with children's tuition, it helps with paying for specialists, equipment, and opportunities for children with visual impairments to participate in sport and recreation.
Just to tell you, camp is sore.
What's that?
You get sore at camp, kids. Get sore at camp.
I think it really just depends on the kid. For me, it's the weather. It's hot.
I love Campabilities. Yay!
Other sports. So awesome. I get to see the kids excel.
With visual impairment. Ah, my phone! Sorry, Peter, mä ymmärrän, ei hätää. Hyvällä mallilla ollaan. Kiitos tästä.
Archery is kind of hard because sometimes the arrow slips.
And I almost shot a rabbit. Awesome!
It is awesome, I agree with that.
Oh yeah. Believe in what you can do. Don't be scared. Be strong!
And don't be afraid.
Right.
Everybody.
Right. Right.
And if you have any fears, it's okay. You get over them really
Likewise,
easily.
I have a fear of balloons.